Jones with us today. She is a wonderful colleague of ours here at Foster Care to Success, and she's going to talk about coaching your students through the holidays. And we are going to put it right away through to Maria.
Okay, thank you to Tina and Pat and Shelley for inviting me to join you this evening. I'm very excited to talk with you about coaching your student through the holidays. As Tina mentioned, my name is Maria Guerin-Jones, and I'm currently the program manager for the AIM Higher program at Foster Care to Success. I work with some of our most successful and committed students. They're all very high achieving and on track for graduation. And basically, in summary, the program is pretty new with Foster Care to Success, and it's small right now. Each year we work with about 20 to 25 new students, and they come to DC for a 2-week-long training program. And during our time with them, we prepare them to be presenters and to talk about what it takes to be successful in post-secondary education. These students are working with foster teens in their own communities, but they're also getting this very important message out there to social workers, foster parents, basically other stakeholders and advocates who have a vested interest in improving outcomes for young people served by the foster care system. So we're very excited about the program. Our goal is to improve college readiness, but it's also to promote volunteerism among the students that we have here at Foster Care to Success. I will let you know that I am working from some notes this evening, so if you hear paper rustling, I apologize, but I want to make sure that I get all of our key points in for tonight's conference call. Like Tina said, we're going to talk about how to get your students through the holidays. And basically, I mean, we all know the holidays can be rough for just about everybody. Some people like the holidays, but a lot of people get stressed about them. So we'll talk about some strategies that you can use in your conversations with your students to maybe help them manage the holidays and make them not so overwhelming. But before we get started, we do want to point out that there's a difference between sort of feeling down or maybe experiencing holiday blues versus something like feeling, clinically depressed or experiencing some sort of other mental health condition. And so if you feel like your student is in crisis, if you feel like your student is expressing things to you that are worrisome or troubling or exhibiting behavior that causes you to be alarmed, please contact us right away, day or night, and we will work with your student to get them the professional intervention that they need. So with that said, we'll jump into tonight's content. Like we said, we're going to share some strategies with you to help your students deal with the stresses that are associated sometimes with the holiday season. And I think that one of the things that makes the holidays so tough is what I like to call holiday hoopla. There are just so many expectations around family, whether it's your nuclear family or your extended family, that can make the holidays a stressful time. There are also a lot of expectations around gift giving and celebration, things like love and happiness and warmth, all great things, but again, for many of our students, they find this tremendously difficult. And so we share this with you just to kind of put some things in context. Some of our students feel like they don't fit into the typical stereotypes or the typical mold, and that makes it really challenging for them. So let's go ahead and get started. Our first strategy is what we like to call ask early but gently. We really feel like it's never too soon to start asking about the holidays. So as you're having conversations with your students, find out what their plans are. For some students, they're going to start worrying and thinking about it just as soon as the holidays are around the corner. This year, the day after Halloween, I saw Christmas decorations in the store. Other students, as soon as the weather starts to change, they're already thinking about what their plans are going to be for the holidays. But for others, they might be kind of avoiding thinking about the holidays. And then all of a sudden, they're sort of in a panic when they realize that they don't have anywhere to go and their dorms are closing. And so if possible, it's great to start those conversations sooner rather than later so you don't have, that panic in a crisis situation. But we do encourage you to ask gently and to recognize that this can be a sensitive topic for young people who have been in foster care. They might not answer you right away. For some students, you might have to pose the question a couple of times over the course of a couple of weeks. So that's one of the reasons that it's a good idea to start sooner rather than later. You might think that you're just asking them a question about where they're going to stay during the break, but remember that the holidays can be, they may be a very emotionally charged topic for your student. And so just ask gently and recognize that any thinking about the holidays could trigger memories of holidays past that were perhaps not so happy or maybe disappointing, or maybe situations where your student felt alone. Our second strategy is to brainstorm with your student. So once you have gotten your conversation started about their holiday plans, talk to them about what their options are. And we would suggest that if you have a student who's living in a dorm, start by asking them what their plans are and whether or not their dorms stay open. They may or may not know the answer to that question. If their dorms are not an option, then they need to start thinking through other options. Maybe friends, family members, neighbors, maybe mentors or teachers or professors. And for some young people, if they're involved with a faith community, maybe there's a church member who would be willing to open up their home during the holidays. Regardless of what the situation is going to be, they just need to start thinking about what those options could potentially be. One option that we find that students often overlook are the resources available to international students. And I'll share a quick story with you. I was recently talking with a social worker, and she had a student who needed a place to stay during the winter break. And the student contacted the residence life office to find out if the dorms would be open. And unfortunately for her, the dorms were not going to be open, and the person that she spoke with didn't offer any other suggestions. So the social worker said, okay, well, let me make a phone call. So she called the residence life office, and she got the same treatment. Basically, sorry, there's no option for this student. They have to leave. The dorms are not open. So she decided to use a different approach, and she called back and she said, what do you have available for your international students? Lo and behold, there were lots of options available, and ultimately she was able to get her student temporarily housed with the international students. And basically I tell the story for a couple of reasons. First, she had to do some creative thinking. She had to think outside the box and look at generating a solution that maybe wasn't obvious initially. But the second reason I like to share this story is that her student actually tried to find a solution to the challenge. She made the phone calls, but unfortunately she didn't get a very positive or supportive response. So fortunately for this young woman, she had a very persuasive and persistent social worker working with her, and that worker was willing to call repeatedly and make some inquiries about the resources that could be available to her student. For this particular young woman, had her social worker not intervened, I'm not sure that she would have called back. And so that's just an important thing to keep in mind when you're talking with your students. They may have a similar situation where they make some calls, but they don't get any kind of positive response. And so that might be a place where your support could be very helpful. Whether you talk with them and brainstorm a list of, follow-up questions or follow-up strategies, or even if you assist them in making some calls to see what resources might be available to them. Our third strategy is to help your student explore imperfect versus bad options. So you've had a lot of conversation with them. They might have a variety of different things on the table. It's likely that they have somewhere to go for the winter break. But they might not feel like that's the option that they want to take advantage of. Sometimes young people feel like it might be an awkward situation, or maybe they feel like they won't fit in, so they might be inclined to turn down invitations that they deem less than perfect. So we would encourage you to help them think through those kinds of situations, because the reality is imperfect might be okay if it provides them with a safe and stable place to live during the holidays. In other situations, you may talk to your students and find that they're faced with options that are not good. situations where their physical or their emotional safety is jeopardized. And if that's the case, it would be helpful to talk with your student about why that's not a good option, why we would suggest that that's a bad option, and to keep working to look at other possibilities. Our fourth strategy is to help your student prepare for the worst, but to expect okay. It's always good to have a backup plan. I always tell my own kids that they need to have a plan B in case things don't go their way. And you can help your student do this by talking through their original plan, figuring out what they'll do if that plan falls through. For many students, they're not going to, kind of think about other contingencies. They're not going to think about what they would do if this situation doesn't work out. But in having those conversations with them, you can help them to plan ahead and to figure out what they would do if that situation were to arise, so that they don't end up feeling alone or depressed if things don't go their way. The bottom line is that the holidays are going to happen no matter what. So if they have concerns or fears, you can help them express them and deal with them head on. And I would suggest that, don't be afraid to go worst case scenario with them, because that will help you explore your students' expectations for the holidays. And you can try to get to what they would do if they were faced with a situation that they found stressful or overwhelming. At the same time, students, sometimes they expect a perfect holiday, and they need to recognize that it's probably not going to happen. I mean, I don't know anybody that experiences perfect holidays, but they also shouldn't expect the opposite, that, their holidays are going to be horrible or that nobody cares about them. So it's helpful to try to, sort of manage their expectations. And this is a situation where you might share some of your own experiences with the holidays, so that they can understand that feeling stressed or overwhelmed about the holidays is not something that's unique to young people who've been involved in the foster care system. That, again, lots of people feel overwhelmed during the holidays, that it is a stressful time of year, but there are things that you can do to sort of manage that stress and, make the holidays, not such a terrible time of year. I will just sort of share a caveat. If you do decide to share your personal experiences with your student, just make sure that your experiences, that what you're sharing is directly relevant to what your student is experiencing. That's going to be the most helpful use of your own personal experiences. Our fifth strategy is to help your student create their own holiday traditions. For many young people, the traditions that are celebrated during this time of year make the holidays really fun, but for some, they make them not so fun. And if a young person is feeling disconnected from their family, it's also pretty likely that they're going to be feeling disconnected from their own traditions. Many of them really want to be part of family traditions, or that they've heard about or that they had in their own culture, but they just don't have that in their lives. So one of the things that you can do is to encourage your student to start their own traditions. It's a great opportunity for them to start something that would be meaningful to them. And the wonderful thing about this is it doesn't have to conform to any preconceived notion about what a tradition should be. It can be something that's special to them. Tina was sharing a story with me about a former student, and he would save sparklers after the 4th of July, and every Christmas Eve he would go outside and light up his sparklers to celebrate the holiday season. And it's kind of a fun and different tradition, and it's probably one that he'll share with his own children and his children's children. But it was something that he came up with on his own, and something that he continues to do year after year. So your students can come up with those kinds of things as well. Sometimes they just need to be encouraged to do so. Now, number 6 is around gift giving. And we all know that gift giving and receiving tends to dominate the holidays. It's one of those things that can make the holidays stressful, in my opinion. I was actually on a phone call with some students the other night, and I had a number of students who had already finished their Christmas shopping, which I could not believe because I haven't even started. But it's just one of those things that, that people get really stressed out and overwhelmed about. And particularly for students who may be struggling with limited resources or maybe again they're disconnected from their families, and so that whole idea of gift giving just sort of triggers a lot of memories about family members that they miss or family members that are not involved in their lives. So again, one of the things that we would suggest is that you work with your student to help them rethink the whole idea of gift giving. You don't have to spend a lot of money in order to give a gift that's meaningful. There are lots of different things that your student can do. Some people are very crafty and they can make holiday gifts. Sometimes it's just really wonderful to sit down and write a letter or a note to somebody that you care about, to express, the way that you feel about them. And that's a wonderful holiday gift. One of the other things that we also encourage our students to do is to volunteer. By giving of your own time and talents through service to others, it's a great way to sort of celebrate the spirit of the holidays, and also do something productive. And let's face it, it also gets your mind off, sort of thinking about yourself, and maybe some of your own personal struggles. So, on this one, there are a lot of ways to give meaningful gifts. It just really requires that you rethink gift giving, and think about it in a new light. Now, our seventh strategy is to help your student embrace time alone. And after all of your conversations and all of your exploration of options, sometimes students decide that the best option for them is to enjoy the holidays alone. And if that's the only viable option for them, or if that's the option that they choose, then help them own it. Help them think about all the things that they've been waiting to do all semester, but they've been too busy studying or with school or with work. Help them think about things that would make them feel good or relaxed, even if it's something small like curling up with a good book or watching movies or enjoying a special dessert. And encourage them to see the benefits of this time alone, that it can be a really positive option for them, and that it can help them recharge their batteries, so to speak, before the next semester starts. And then number 8, finally, our last strategy is really just to listen to your student. It's really as simple as that. And sometimes the best gift that you can offer is just to be a support and a witness to the experiences that your student decides to share with you. And I guess it's really important to remember that if you have a student who's had year after year of really disappointing and sad holidays, there's really not anything that you can do to change that. But what you can do is to be there for them for this current holiday, the upcoming holiday, and let them know that you're going to be there for them before, during, and after the holidays are long gone. And who knows, maybe this will be the first of many happy holidays for them, maybe not, but at least they'll know that they have somebody there to listen to them and to be there for them. So that's all I have for tonight. I do just want to close by saying that Foster Care to Success appreciates all that you do. Your willingness to share of your time and your talents with our students is so essential to the work that we do with them. And we're here to support you, so if there's anything that we can do to help, please let us know. And with that, I will turn it back to Tina, and I think we have time for questions if anybody has any.
Well, Maria, that was really, really interesting and useful, and I am sure you all were frantically taking notes, but you don't have to, because we will have Maria's presentation, or at least a version of it, on the website tomorrow, or as soon as we have the video up. But does anybody have any questions? I think that Maria it was amazing. You said everything.
Really quickly.
But really quickly.
Sorry, I'm a fast talker.
Questions, or does anybody else have other suggestions of things that you might do with your students to help them through the holidays? See, when there's a deathly silence like this, at the end of the call, I always figure we have done our jobs, because Maria must have said every single thing that it is possible to need to know, and there are really no questions, as surely somebody has comments.
I'll make a comment. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I have a question, and it may be obvious, but this being the holidays, the guidelines of the program is that we are not supposed to give the students any gifts.
is not necessarily a guideline of the program. There's certainly, the meaning of the program is not to give gifts, but as you become friendly and comfortable and close to your student, a gift is a very nice thing. And certainly you can give gifts. You can ask your student for their address if that is how it would work, or you could ask us, what would be appropriate. But we certainly, expensive gifts would definitely be discouraged. But a book or a CD or a gift certificate.
Gift card.
Yeah.
Even a card, just a simple holiday card, sometimes is all a student is looking for. And I don't mean by looking, but I mean they get so many bills in the mail, and even a card sent to them, they love it. It's not a bill.
Yeah. So absolutely, a small gift would be a wonderful thing.
One gift that a small thing that I sent several years to different students was I went to the dollar store and got an 18-inch fake Christmas tree and some little baubles, and just packaged those up and sent them so they had a little Christmas tree for their room. Yep. And they really seem to appreciate that.
Oh, that's a gorgeous idea. I really like that. So you can get, excuse me, that is my telephone. Let me go shut it off.
That's a great idea. Just I did that last year for a student of mine. I sent a small holiday stocking and stuffed it with a card and a couple of other quick, inexpensive small gifts, and sent that, and the student loved it. So those are great ideas.
Yeah. And Best Buy and Target have little tiny Christmas trees that light up. Those are really cool too.
They are.
So, but yes, absolutely. Small gifts are a lovely thing, and next year maybe your student will send you something. So, I think we had another comment.
This is Frank Gamble. I really enjoyed it. I thought these were some good suggestions. So thank you again.
Thank you.
I think gift cards are always welcome too.
Yes, gift cards are great. Gift cards let them get something that they really wanted. So, anything else? Okay, well, thank you very much, Maria. It was a really interesting and worthwhile topic today. We really appreciate it. I have to tell you all that Maria's been practicing because
I wanted to do a good job.
So she did a great job. So thank you all. We're not going to have a conference call in December, but in January we are very much looking forward. Another colleague, a member of our staff, is going to talk about specially supporting young men. Those of you who have young men in the program, which doesn't mean those of you who are coaching ladies shouldn't listen as well, but we're really excited about that for January. And thank you all again, and Maria, thank you very much.
Thank you all. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marie.